Let's talk Dallas. Um, oh, one sec. Okay, now we're ready. Um, Dallas is a frustrating team to watch. Dallas has been a frustrating team to watch for a long time. And, it's funny because I remember the 1999 Stanley Cup. These guys, almost like it was yesterday, like it was fun. But you know what? This will mark 20 years since then. And since then, it's been a lot of frustration. 2000, they went back to the Stanley Cup final, but that's about the end of their success. And it is on Jamie Benn and the boys this year to prove themselves. The tough part for them is kind of the issue of depth, but we'll get into that. They had 92 points this past season, which was a disappointment because they were supposed to move up a little further. And not only that, but they looked good to make the playoffs with about 20 games left. I think it was. They looked like, oh yeah, no, they'll make it, and then they just fell apart. 79 points the year before, which was a 30-point drop from the 109 they had in 2016. I remember when the channel started gaining momentum was during that playoff run, and I kept saying Dallas isn't going to win it. And people were like, wait, you're a Dallas fan? What? And it was goaltending. I was like, I don't have any faith in the goaltending. That was when it was Lettinen and Niemi, and one would have a good game and then follow it with a bad game, so they'd switch again, and it got frustrating because it was after 2015, they had 92 points. 2014, they had 91. They've been in that 91, 92 point range 3 of the last 5 years. Is this the year it changes? Maybe. Top 5 cap hits, Jamie Benn's number 1. Spezza's number 2, and rumors have been circulating this offseason they're trying to move that cap hit. Alex Radulov's number 3. Tyler Seguin's number 4 for this season only. He's a UFA. They're already talking to him about an extension, and I'm guessing he will get the same amount of money as Jamie Benn, if not more. Is he worth it? It really depends who you ask. As a fan who's watched Tyler Seguin throughout his career, he plays very well. There are games where he leaves you wanting a little bit more than what you may get out of him, but he's generally a superstar player. There's just some nights where you're like, man, just want that little bit extra. And maybe it's because I'm a little bit greedy of players that I watch play on teams I cheer for. Ben Bishop, number 5 on the cap hit chart, and his $4.9 million this past season looks reasonable, but then injuries take over. And with Bishop, you've got to worry about that. Plus player for me is Radek Faksa. Faksa's been pretty amazing, and I'd prefer to see him as third line center, but I do think that with Spezza and some of his just gradual decline, I think Fox is going to be the number 2 guy this year. MVP for me is Ben, because of course if the team's going to go anywhere, Jamie Benn's going to be driving the ship. The minus player for me, Mark Mathot gets that nomination due to all the time he spent on the injured reserve. And you have to start wondering, how beat up was he when Dallas picked him up? Of course, they missed the playoffs the last 2 years. You can see that here. They've made the playoffs 31 out of 51 seasons that they've played in the league. This, of course, is Jim Montgomery's debut as coach. Now, this is where the optimism comes from. Very often, a team will get a bump in the first year that they've got a brand new coach. And if it's a rookie coach, that can be as much more of a bump than otherwise. I like Montgomery's resume coming into this season with what he's done prior to coming to Dallas, but we'll see how he meshes with this team. Now, here's the problem. Top 6 forwards, Benn, Seguin, and Radulov. You can't have them on the same line. They're deadly together, but what happens is then you've got Janmark, Faksa, and probably Nichushkin. I think Nichushkin ends up there. The list I looked at had Pitlick in there. No, it's got to be Nichushkin, or this season could blow up fast. Offensive players, I like Janmark's game a lot. I like Faksa's a lot. I'd be happier if they were third line, if this was a third scoring line. Of course, Spezza could end up getting the ice time, but Faksa did outplay Spezza in terms of ice time this past season. So I think it's logical to believe that Spezza's could decline further and Faksa could pick up extra minutes. Top 4, Lindell, Klingberg, Mathot, Heiskanen. Heiskanen's the big name. Miro Heiskanen coming in is something that's kind of got Dallas fans a little bit excited. Because if Heiskanen can somehow push into this top two, and if your top three are Lindell, Klingberg, Heiskanen, Lindell's a guy that there's some split opinions on. Heiskanen as the number 4 draft pick or number 3 draft pick last summer was kind of what Svechnikov has been for Carolina. The perception that, well, that team doesn't deserve a top prospect because they're not the worst team in the league. Well, Dallas has been mediocre, and for to me as a Dallas fan, I was really glad they got Heiskanen, and we'll see whether or not that changes the face of that blue line. Goaltending is going to tell a story, but I'm much happier with Hudobin as the backup than Lehtinen. At the time I'm recording this, Kari Lehtinen does not have a job in the NHL. I don't think that he deserves to be out of the league. I think Lehtinen played better last year than he did the year before, but I guess GMs around the league said, nah, we've seen enough of that guy. We don't want him. Or maybe he wanted more money than a GM was willing to pay. Additions, Blake Comeau comes in. He'll play a third-line role. If somehow they had a combination of Janmark, Faxa, Comeau, I'd be really happy if that somehow happened, even though both are left wingers. Polak has been added to the blue line. I guess they wanted some physicality in their bottom two. Hudobin, of course, added as a backup. I'm very happy with Hudobin. Again, comes over from Boston, so there's a Boston-Dallas pipeline here. And Hudobin should be an excellent backup. And if something happens to Bishop, or in the case of some fans who are going to be saying, well, when something happens to Bishop, either way, Hudobin's capable of keeping things going. The problem I have with Dallas is there really isn't anybody I look at in the organization as a number 3 and say, oh, we'll be fine if something happens to Bishop because we've got 3 goaltenders who can play. I'm nervous. Genuinely kind of nervous. But we'll see how that works out. Again, the last 5 years in the playoffs, they didn't make it in 2018, 2017. They lost in the second round in 2016, and they lost in the first round in 2014. There hasn't been a long run for Dallas in a very long time. Rookies, Masharin, Hintz, and of course Heiskanen. I'd like to see Hintz play. I'd be very, very happy to see Hintz play for them this year. Masharin I've got in there because they drafted him. He was drafted 2 years previous by Florida. Couldn't come to a contract agreement. Has signed a contract now with Dallas. I would think that at 20 years of age, he'll get a shot at playing on this roster. But they're not a roster that has a ton of openings. Heiskanen's going to take the big opening on that blue line, that top 4 spot. I kind of wish they'd kept Hammer. I kind of wish Ham Hughes had stayed in Dallas. As a number 6 guy, I think he could have been useful. And if Polak's being looked at to kind of play that number 6 spot, I would still take Cam Hughes ahead of Polak. I don't know if I'm alone in that or not. I know people will let me know. Again, a lot of what goes on with Dallas, if Mathot has trouble staying healthy again, it could be a long year. But the channel, you guys voted. 0.3% say Dallas is going to be number 1. So 3 out of 1,000 go, Dallas is going to be number 1 in the league. And it's like, all right. 1.3%, so 13 out of 1,000 say second. And I can kind of understand the optimism of some because you get looking at guys like Ben, Sagan, Heiskanen coming in, Klingberg, who had an amazing season this past year, and Bishop. Klingberg fell off a bit towards the end, but was excellent, and I know I kept getting some static for the fact that I didn't have Klingberg as a Norris Trophy nominee necessarily. But when you look at this, there are some big names on this team, and there's some reasons to be excited and think, yes, they could move up. Third place, 5.9% say third place. It is in fourth place that we start to see a grouping. 21.8% of votes went for fourth place for Dallas. Fifth place, 30.6%. Sixth place, 26.8%. Seventh place, 12.5%. Nobody voted eighth because it's the Central, and you can't vote eighth position. So if you're scoring along at home, fourth through sixth are the spots that got the most amount of votes, but fifth seems to be where the channel has them finishing. Where do I have them finishing? I see them in fourth, and I see them as a playoff team. I do. I see 5 teams in the Central making it, 3 in the Pacific. But while I see them as a playoff team, there are some concerns. The depth of scoring is a concern. I think depth on the blue line to some extent. And I know you've got Honka. I don't know how long Honka sticks around, and because I mean, let's be honest, Julius Honka, if he's going to want top 4 minutes, he may need to go to another organization to get that. He still has upside. This is a team that has lost Alexiak to trade, and that looks like a steal for Pittsburgh. And another guy I don't have on this list is Stephen Johns, who is decent top 6 defenseman. There's a lot of good depth there. It's not. I don't know. We'll see how it all works together. We'll see how it all fits together in the end, I guess. But I do have concerns, and really a big asterisk that makes me concerned is Ben Bishop, because he does have trouble staying healthy over a full season. So it's playoffs. I see them being in the playoffs. I'm taking that leap. I think I picked them to make the playoffs last year too, though, which makes me nervous, because Dallas makes me nervous. They make me nervous as a fan of the team, a fan that wants to see this team succeed, and I'd like to see Jim Nill, respectably as a GM of a team that's in the playoffs, because when he took over, there was a lot of fanfare that this guy had learned in the Detroit organization he was going to be great, and to this point, I don't know how great it's been. And Nichushkin, it's put up or shut up time. He comes back. There was all this talk from Dallas fans at the time of, well, Lindy Ruff it's Lindy Ruff's fault that Nichushkin's crap right now. Oh, well, he's not giving Nichushkin the ice time. The idea that you give a guy ice time when he's not earning it is a very dangerous message, so I don't disagree with how Lindy Ruff handled it. But this year, Nichushkin can prove either Ruff was right or Ruff was dead wrong. And if Nichushkin comes in and scores, say, 25 goals, then Dallas is a playoff team and could end up threatening for third. But I'd be interested to know what you guys think, because, again, the Central is a really tough division to call. And I see Dallas as a team that should make the playoffs this year. Do they do anything when they're there? That's a whole other conversation we can discuss in April. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through just having upon this video. And thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.